Off. India's COVID-19 case and fatality rates have fallen from the peaks reached in September. As 2020 draws to a close, Indians will look forward to the new year and with weariness and hope after suffering one of the worst years in history. Health-wise, nearly 1,48,000 registered deaths due to COVID-19 and economically loss of livelihoods. Um, so, so because of this COVID-19 outbreak, obviously many problems occurred in various countries, and this year, as the year 2020 is about to end, everyone is going to celebrate. Everyone is going to celebrate the ending of this year, which was the worst year in the history since a long time. And another good sign is that since the month of September. Since the month of September, the death rate or the fatality rate of India due to COVID-19 have been decreasing rapidly. So it's a hope for all the Indians that in the next year the fatality rate will be decreased a lot. The pandemic continues to rage. Daily infections and deaths are scaling fresh peaks in Europe, and the US is closing in on 20 million confirmed cases and 3.4 lakh deaths. And in some countries in Latin America, cases have remained high and are rising. So the bad sign is that India is the only some of the countries in which the fatality rates have been dropping. But in some other countries like Europe and America and Latin America, the rate of the cases is increasing at a fast rate than ever. So it may be a good sign for India, but not for the world, which in turn means that it is also not a good sign for India. In contrast, while India still registers the highest number of daily infections and deaths in Asia, the daily rate has come down significantly to a 7-day rolling average of less than 24,000 cases and 250 deaths between December 20 to 26. From the peak of close to a lakh and more than 1,000 deaths a day in mid-September. In the first para, I said that the fatality rate or the number of people who have been dying in India have been decreasing. While that's true, even though that's true, India in the continent of Asia, India is still the country who has the highest death toll. I just said that the death toll or the fatality rate of India is decreasing, but even though it is decreasing, it still holds the number one position for the more number of cases recorded per day. Until now, India has recorded many deaths, and the and and the daily rate has come down significantly. So the daily fatality rate or the number of persons who have been dead in each day in India have come down to an average of 24,000, and the average of deaths between December 20 and December 26th is 250 deaths. These are much lower numbers compared to the US and comparably fewer than those which are registered in larger countries. India still tests a middling number 732 tests and 15.8 confirmed cases per million people compared to the rest of the world. That the testing numbers have fallen slightly in the past month, but the significant drop in the recorded deaths suggests that rather than experiencing a new peak in the daily infections and deaths, India still remains the down phase since the September peak. So, as I said, the good sign is that the fatality rate or the death rate of India it has been decreasing rapidly and extremely since the month of September. That the case and the death curves are headed further south is a good sign for the health infrastructure. As the fatality rate is decreasing, it's a good sign for the health infrastructures. So that now the government has the chance to improve all of them. While no other country, bearing the US, has reached or crossed the per day peak of nearly 1 lakh cases that India registered in September, the lower number of cases registered Recently, even as the country eased its physical distancing measures and travel restrictions, and went through a festive season might come as a surprise. So a wonderful thing in India is that in India between the in India since the pandemic started and since the pandemic is ending, I mean right now, we had so many festive seasons, and not a single one of them caused the COVID-19 fatality rate to grow up, and that's really wonderful. And the other thing is that out of all the countries in the world, US is the only country whose fatality rate per day is above has crossed 1 lakh deaths. But as virologist Jacob John and MS Seshadri have argued, the peaking in September denoted that the pandemic's widespread nature in urban and semi-urban areas was reflected even more apparently in the ICMR's zero surveys. Um, I said that I was saying that the India's fatality rate have been constantly decreasing since the month of September. But in the month of September, India's fatality rate was so high. Um, some of the reasons may be explained by they may be explained by the surveys which were conducted by ICMR. These surveys are known as zero surveys. Zero surveys. These zero surveys revealed a much higher number of undetected infections, many of them asymptomatic before the September peak. So even before the September, so what actually happened is that when September month was starting, the death toll it has suddenly increased, and it has gone up rapidly. The reason is that even before the month of September, many number of people had the virus in them, but they were asymptomatic, means they were not showing symptoms. So initially they were considered that they were not having the virus, so they did not come under the number of cases. But in the start in, but in the month of, but in the starting period of the month of September, their asymptomatic conditions have caused them to be infectious. So at a time, all of the asymptomatic patients they have become symptomatic, and the death toll or the fatality rate of India since the month of September has gone up. Ask the virus ravaged the urban centers. As the virus ravaged the urban centers and spread to rural areas, the virologists estimated that nearly a third of the population had already been exposed, indicating that half of the herd immunity level required to end the spread had already been reached by mid-September. Had already reached by mid-September. Um, so, according to the Zero survey, which was conducted by the ICMR, the virus was first. It was first in the bodies of the urban and the semi-urban areas, and from then after that, it slowly also spread to the villages. So from this the virologists and the IC, and ICMR have formed a conclusion. They have told that half of the herd immunity that needs to be reached have been already reached in mid-September. This explains why daily case and fatality rates stay low, and also suggests that after India begins its vaccination drive, the epidemic should ease further and could become endemic. So hopefully after the vaccination drive, this huge epidemic of the COVID-19 or the coronavirus will be endemic. Means it will be end for the epidemic. This does not lessen the dangers of local outbreaks and complications of the spread of new variants from abroad. So another threat to all of the countries, not only India, is that as you all know, a new mutant of virus of the novel coronavirus have mutated in UK, and it may come to India in any way. So we should always be careful. Even after we get the vaccination, we should still be careful, because the virus which mutated in India, which mutated in UK, is very dangerous. The standard safety measures, mask wearing, hand hygiene, absence of crowding, and renewed testing and tracing must remain. So even after we get the vaccination drive, we should still maintain social distancing. We should put on masks, and we should sanitize our hands constantly, and so on. We should follow all these precautions even after the vaccination drive, because as I said, we should be ready for the as I said, we should be ready for the outbreak of the outbreak of the recently mutated virus in UK. Thank you.